All right, good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday, 8:20 now on our Wednesday morning. Hopefully you're having a good morning so far. Things could have been worse down in Cancun, or at least the northeastern Yucatan Peninsula, where Delta weakened really quickly. I shouldn't say really quickly. It weakened over the last 12 hours, where it looked like they were going to be dealing with a Category 4 at landfall. The storm was actually Category 2 when it made landfall just south of Cancun this morning. So I guess that's some good news to report this morning, as the storm is now moving inland. So let's talk about that. We'll talk about what we've seen over the last 12 hours or so, and then we'll look ahead to what happens next once Delta moves into the Gulf of Mexico, and it looks like it begins to strengthen. So Delta made landfall this morning north of Cozumel, south of Cancun. They're near Puerto Morelos around 5:45 Central Time, so it's around 6:45 Eastern. Again, a Category 2 hurricane with winds of 110 miles per hour, so that threshold of becoming a major hurricane is at 111 miles per hour. So just under Cat 3 strength at landfall. The pressure was 972 millibars. You can see where it is now, quickly moving inland, so moving away from Cancun right now. It'll move into the southern Gulf of Mexico later this morning, probably even before 10 or 11 o'clock, and then give it I'd say about 6 hours, and it should begin to strengthen once again, with those very warm waters of the Gulf of Mexico able to provide that fuel for the storm to strengthen. But it's been weakening since landfall. Wind speeds at 105 miles per hour as of the 8 o'clock advisory, moving fairly quickly to the northwest at 7 miles per hour. And an interesting thing that we've been tracking with Hurricane Delta has been how small it is. The hurricane force winds only go out to about 30 miles from the center of the storm. So when daylight comes and conditions improve along the northeastern coast of the Yucatan, I think what they're going to find is a relatively small area of damage, at least from those hurricane force winds. There was still a surge threat, and there could be that concern for some surge through the Cancun area, especially north of the center of the storm. But the swath of that strongest damage from the hurricane winds isn't going to be that big because it's a relatively small storm. The tropical storm force winds, for that matter, only go out about 140 miles from the center of the storm. So again, a relatively small storm. There is a hurricane hunter flying in the storm right now. They're actually just took an approach around the east side of the hurricane, and now they're starting their alpha pattern flight into the center of the storm. So they will be navigating their way in. We'll get an update. This flight is just to get the latest information. There's not a ton of weather observations, much less radar data for northeastern Mexico there. So this flight's really going to help out with getting some of the latest observations, so we can then put that information and that data into the forecast models to start getting a better forecast for what we could see for the U.S. coastline later on this week. So that tropical wind threat, just talking about the size of the hurricane, it looks like it's going to grow in size as we head through Thursday into Friday. Not just grow in size, but grow in intensity as well. And it's forecast to become a Category 4 hurricane again as it approaches the Louisiana coast. And then it should weaken, at least that's the forecast. It's still going to be a major hurricane and potentially devastating impacts for southwestern Louisiana Friday into the day on Saturday. It looks like it makes landfall sometime Friday evening before moving inland, and then right up the mouth of up the Mississippi River there through eastern Louisiana into Mississippi Friday into Saturday. A couple of things that are going to be working to help it weaken before landfall, and that will be the cooler water in the northern Gulf of Mexico. You can see there the cooler water temperatures in the northern Gulf. If I just plot those a little bit, we've got 80 degrees, 83 degrees in some places in the northern Gulf. The water temperature needs to be at least 80 degrees to be able to support a hurricane. If water temperatures are cooler than that, a storm will weaken really quickly. So 80 degrees is sort of that benchmark where if you have anything warmer than that, it can still support a hurricane. Anything cooler than that, it would weaken quickly. And just with the cooler sea surface temperatures in the northern Gulf compared to the southern Gulf of Mexico, where just off the northeast coast of the Yucatan, water temps are there in the upper 80s to near 90 degrees. That's why we're going to see that strengthening all the way up until probably Friday morning. And at Friday morning, you can see that's exactly when it moves into that cooler water. And then it's just kind of, it'll be gradually weakening, but still coming down from Cat 4 wind speeds of 130 miles per hour to potentially Cat 3 with 115 miles per hour. You're still talking about a major storm with potentially life-threatening impacts for the coast of Louisiana. Here's the actual cone. Similar thing to what I just showed you. You're looking at the track for the system as it continues to move inland, and it'll go all the way up into the Ohio Valley as a remnant low-pressure system. It'll bring them a lot of rainfall. Hopefully it doesn't bring them a lot of wind. They're in peak fall color right now with the peak leaves. So that'll be a concern for anybody going up into the Ohio Valley, into the Northeast for the fall foliage and the fall color up there. That could knock some of the leaves down a little bit sooner than they might hope for. Now, in terms of the timing, not just when the storm and the center of the storm arrives, but when will those tropical storm force winds arrive? And we show this graphic because this is the time for when, if it comes here or wherever, that you want to have any of your preparations wrapped up by this point. So it looks like southern Louisiana, even portions of Texas into Mississippi, would want to have their hurricane preps all wrapped up by Friday morning. So pretty much by Thursday night. Anyone from New Orleans over into the southern part of the state, let's see if we can zoom in a little bit more. You're talking about Lafayette, Morgan City, Lake Charles, that whole area. Anyone there will want to have their shutters up and any precautions done by Thursday night before those tropical storm force winds. Anything after that, it just becomes difficult to do anything when those winds are higher than tropical storm force. Forecast models are still in relatively good agreement, all things considered. Sometimes when we're looking at a system a few days out, there's still some uncertainty. Forecast models have pretty much honed in on an area. I mean, that's about what, like 175 mile stretch there where there could be landfall, and that's fairly good agreement, all things considered. There's that one lone forecast model that thinks it's going to go away over here, and that just doesn't seem likely at this point. It's going to take a fairly wide turn and then make that northeasterly turn through Thursday into Friday. And again, it looks like we're going to see landfall somewhere in Louisiana Friday night. Looking at the season as a whole, so there we are in the fourth named storm in the Greek alphabet with Hurricane Delta. It's been a long season, and we still have about a little more than a month and a half left of hurricane season. So don't think that just because we're in October that we need to let our guard down. I mean, Delta is a perfect example of that, but we very well could see another system down the road. I made this graphic yesterday, and it really is astounding to see how many storms we have had this year. You see all the lines of all the past forecasts, or not the past forecasts, the actual past of past storms on the map there. And man, you've got Alpha that made landfall in Portugal, and then you had Nana that went across the Central America there in southern Mexico. It has been just an incredible season with many of those storms, 6 of them actually putting southern Louisiana in a forecast cone at some point. It was Beta, Hannah, Laura, Sally, Marco, and now Delta tracking to the north into the Gulf of Mexico this morning. So that's the latest on Hurricane Delta. I think we wait for it to move back over the Gulf of Mexico. Once it does that, we'll start to see it. How does it respond to the warmer water? How much does it weaken over the Yucatan? We're seeing it weaken now, a fairly low end Category 2 at this point. How quickly does it strengthen once again? It looks like it could strengthen pretty quickly. Think about it. By tomorrow, late tomorrow afternoon, it could be a Category 4 once again. So this could strengthen pretty quickly. Let me just look through some of the comments here. You guys are checking in, just saying hey, and prayers to those in Mexico, and prayers to those in Louisiana as well. Michelle praying for the cool waters. I mean, no doubt. I mean, that is a legitimate thing that will help to weaken the storm. But even, if it gets up to Cat 4 strength, right? So wind speeds of 130 miles per hour, it still has to come down quite a way. I mean, for it to not have as much of an impact, you could still see a major hurricane, a devastating hurricane, make landfall, even though it is weaker than what it once was. So, pray for ocean temperatures in like the 50s to just knock it down, which obviously isn't going to be the case. Let's see here. Alicia just doing a bunch of pray emojis. Yes. Susan sending prayers from Illinois to everyone in Delta's Way. Let's see, what else do we have this morning? A lot of you just checking in, saying hey, which is good, guys. Hopefully you're having a good Wednesday so far. If there's anything that you'd like to pass along, please leave it in the comment section. If you've got friends or family that were down in Cancun and northeastern Mexico, or maybe live in southern Louisiana, let us know about it. Let us know how they're doing. If you've got photos, we always love to see those photos. You can post them right here on the Facebook Live in the comment section, or you can hit us up on Twitter, or just shoot us an email as well. And I always love seeing those pictures, the ground truth, and to see what's actually happening on the ground is always a great perspective, because we look at things from afar, from the satellite and the radar, and to get that ground truth and the actual conditions on the ground is always really helpful. So that's the latest on Delta. We're watching it move back into the southern Gulf of Mexico today, and we will keep you posted. As always, I will be back here tomorrow morning, same time, same place, with an update, and we will go from there. So have a great rest of your Wednesday, and keep checking back for the latest update on 10tampabay.com, as well as right here on Facebook. Take care, and we'll see you tomorrow.